Hey guys, welcome back to the Woxky MMA channel. Today we're going to be breaking down and giving some early predictions for the fights on UFC 333. They revealed the card before they revealed UFC 332, and I didn't get to make a card builder on this one, which sucks because those videos get views. But anyways, let's just break it down. The main event, Alexander Volkanovski versus Movsar Evloev. Evloev thoroughly deserves the title shot. He's been waiting for so long. He's beaten all the top guys he needs to, and he's just kind of been stiffed a little bit, especially with the Diego Lopez rematch instead of him getting the shot. But, it's an interesting matchup. There's a couple questions still. We know how good Volk's anti-wrestling is and his kind of Dagestan-proof approach. I know Movsar isn't from Dagestan, but, the point kind of still stands. But he is getting old. He is getting up there. We've seen, before that hasn't really affected him. But sometimes these guys just show up to the fight washed. So that's always kind of a question. Movsar, 20-0, undefeated, always finds a way to win. But winning convincingly isn't his strongest point. He arguably lost to Arnold Allen. He had a very close fight with Aljamain Sterling. And, well, I don't know about gotten rocked, but he's looked beatable. Like that fight with Lerone Murphy, I thought it was a draw when I was watching it. And whilst I am happy that Evloev won, because if the number one contender fight ended up being a draw, that would be terrible for the sport. It's still kind of a thing where it's like, okay, let's hold our horses a little bit, Evloev isn't necessarily the same kind of powerhouse that Islam Makhachev was when Volk fought him. Does that mean I don't think Evloev has a chance of winning? No, I think he's got a very good chance. I think his striking is good. I think Volk's striking is better. I think his grappling is really going to be what he has to angle on for this fight. And I mean, Volk's getting older. I don't know if the grappling's going to be, the strong suit. I don't think Movsar gets a submission. I think his best shot is probably a ground and pound finish because Volk's a little chinny. And, if Movsar starts raining down shots, then it could be a good thing for him. But I think Volk's got him beat in most areas of the fight. But, it's mixed martial arts. That could always be a surprise. Moving on, the trilogy between Petr Yan and Merab Dvalishvili. It's made slightly less interesting by the fact that Yan won most recently. So I think he's probably going to win again. But we're going to see what a fully recovered Merab looks like. Both guys kind of had some problems going into the fight. Going into this one, that is. Yan has had back surgery and Merab's nose is smashed. Will his cardio be affected? Who knows? Maybe. Probably. I think Merab's probably going to lose this fight, and I think it is going to be a bit of an aging out thing. His style that relies on, pressure, just full pressure, full cardio, it isn't one that ages well, and tanking, the shots you get hit with never really goes that well either still. Petr Yan hasn't got a finish since Jose Aldo, so I will be predicting a decision, but yeah, I think Yan probably gets it done. Crafty bag of tricks, elbows to the forearm. Moving on, Lonnie Kavanagh versus Ramazan Temirov. I think Temirov is a bit of a one-trick pony, and I think that could have, that worked against Steve Erceg because Erceg kind of leaves his chin up in the air. He doesn't have the best, overhand defense. But I think Kavanagh is the more complete fighter. He'll be able to kind of respond to Temirov's power a bit better, and I think he should be able to kind of control the pace of the fight. He has a very good grappling skill set, as well as a very good striking skill set we saw against Brandon Moreno. And I think he'll be able to kind of piece Temirov up in rounds 2 and 3 to either a 29-28 decision or a late rounds knockout. But we'll see how that goes. Alexander Volkov versus Rizvan Kuniev. Um, I guess this shows that Volkov is just going to continue to get bad matchups after being told that the UFC was going to take care of him. Because Kuniev is a very explosive striker, and I really rate his skill set. I thought that he'd beat Jelton Almeida. He beat Jelton Almeida. I thought he would beat Tyrell Fortune. He beat him. His only loss in the UFC is a very close fight to Curtis Blades, which could have gone either way. But the Volkov fight, it's a good test for him. It's a good test to kind of see, if Kuniev wins this, he's very much in the title talks. Whereas if he loses this, he can kind of be relegated to that, 7-5 area of the rankings, but not the kind of 3-1, But yeah, I like this fight. Russia versus Russia, always interesting. Moving on to Arnold Allen versus Aaron Pico. This appears to be the main card opener. Look, I think Allen should have been fighting Aljamain Sterling, but I do get fighting down for him because it is kind of like he's lost to all the top guy or a lot of the top guys on paper, and he needs to kind of justify fighting up again. Like, if you're winning one and losing one while fighting, top 5 guys, you're not really going to go anywhere. You're going to stall out the division a little, so it's good for that. But I think Arnold Allen is too much too soon for Aaron Pico. He's got really good anti-wrestling, does Arnold Allen. Aaron Pico, bit of a blockhead, was getting tagged up by Patricio Pitbull. Enough said. I think, he can try and blitz into Arnold Allen, but we saw in that John Silver fight that Arnold Allen is very tough, doesn't get knocked out when he's supposed to, and yeah, I think that Arnold Allen maybe wins this fight by knockout, most likely decision, but, if Pico gets a bit reckless, Arnold Allen could put something real nasty on his chin. No diddy pause. Dominic Reyes versus Azamat Murzakanov. It's not really that interesting of a matchup. It'll be cool to see if Murzakanov rebounds after losing his O. I think he probably does, right? I think he should. But maybe Costa laid out the blueprint to beat him, and maybe Reyes is just going to be kicking at range. It's not the most interesting of fights, but it's kind of one that's necessary for the division. Abus Magomedov versus Cam Rouston. It's a nice fight. I think Rouston probably wins. Magomedov does not have great cardio. And Nikita Krylov versus Abdul Rahman Yakhyaev. I think Yakhyaev knocks out Nikita Krylov. I think Krylov's past it. And Grant Dawson versus Nurullo Aliev should have some fun scrambles. Probably doesn't end in a finish. But I could totally see, people hardcores being like, this is going to be, the scrambles are going to be so good. The scrambles are going to be so good in this fight. And then, one guy gets top position and doesn't do anything. I could totally see that happening. So some thoughts on UFC 333. Firstly, I like the card. It's stacked. Not that that's going to mean anything, because, in Australia, the main card's probably going to start, or the prelims are going to start at like 2 a.m. Or, they could start at midnight and the main card could start at 4 a.m. Main cards either start at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. with the Abu Dhabi cards, which is going to be, great for Australian fans who want to see Cam Rouston fight. The Volk fight, we'll be able to catch. I'll be there for the Pico fight, I'll be there for the main card, but it's just like, why do we put all the, talent on the one card? And I know the answer. It's because, Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia can pay for these events. They've got the, they've got the oil money. They've got the backing of Turkey Al-Sheikh, But it's still just a bit like, man, why couldn't we get the talent distributed a bit more evenly. Because UFC 333 being so top heavy means that, all the talent is gone for UFC 332. We literally have a fight night headlined by Raul Rosas Jr. and Raoni Barcelos. Nobody wants to see that shit. But, we got to see it because, they put Arnold Allen and Aaron Pico in Abu Dhabi. They put Alexander Volkov and Rizvan Kuniev in Abu Dhabi. Like, how come the Middle East cards get, 3 top contender fights? It's just a bit, I get, pay-per-views or numbered cards having lots of talent, but, UFC 330 just ranked up. There were 2 ranked fights on that, and both were title fights. And yet 333's got all the good fights. It pisses me off. But anyways, that's some of my early predictions, some of my thoughts on UFC 333. UFC 332 it's cooked. There are so many unranked middleweight fights. It's not even funny. But yeah, peace.